Did you say 3? I gotta
thing.
check the tape.
But you know what? It might have been 6, but I don't care what I picked. It's not that good. I just picked the right team.
Heck of a game.
That was a heck of a game. What did you guys pick?
I thought the Eagles were gonna win.
I have the Chiefs.
That's the problem. That's what I say. Well, tell you, anytime you get a win on the road right now, it's valuable. And I thought, in a lot of ways, we played really well. I thought we did a phenomenal job defensively. I'm still not totally pleased with our offense. I think we're taking tough shots, sometimes too early in the shot clock. We got up almost 60 shots. That's good. But our defense was stifling at times. I thought we did a great job. Now, they had some shots, too, that they missed. But when they cut it to 5 or 6, whatever it was, I thought we responded, which we haven't done as good a job of that. So I was pleased with that. Yesterday was a decent step for Malik. He, even though he was only 1 for 5, I thought, rebounding, he made some great passes, had some great assists. Starting to look like he's coming around. It's playing him at 2 positions that is probably difficult for him, but it's going to be better for him and us in the long run. We've got some work to do, though, to get ready for Minnesota at home. If I were you guys, I'd be tired of hearing this from coaches or from myself, but, just like I told you, Ohio State was a team that, should have beat Rutgers, should have beat Purdue. And, this team had Indiana down just a couple weeks ago. And ended up Indiana won it, but it was right down to the wire. And yesterday it was a game with Iowa till late. I think it's 7 minutes left. I think it was a 5-point game. So they are well coached. Ben does a great job. I think they've been hit with an incredible amount of injuries, especially Garcia, who's their best player, Carrington, a good guard, and they're playing a lot of freshmen, and those freshmen are getting better, but they've been through some unbelievable circumstances with injuries. It's been a little tougher as of late, but they did play Iowa pretty good. Some of those freshmen, like Ola Joseph and Henley, are 2 guys. Payne is another one. And I think are going to be really good players there. They got size, 6'9", 6'7", 6'4". They're big guards. They're a big lineup. But not having Garcia, who was at 15.6 rebounds, hurts. Carrington hurts. And any depth they could have has really hurt this team. The hard part for us is we don't know who's playing. Garcia's been game day here for the last couple games. And I don't know if he'll play or not. He hasn't played in 5 games, which is, you'd say, well, if he comes back. But, I mean, they're a different team with him in there. So we're going to try to go back and watch a little more tape when he played. That's always a little iffy, to be honest with you. But in general, pleased. We won 2 in a row. A little still disappointed in our offense. I think we've got to do a better job of feeding the post. That was open a lot. We've got to speed things up a little bit. Our running game was average. We scored some on it, but even when we get to the half court, we're kind of walking around a little more than I'd like to. Offensive rebounding, did a better job in this game. We still think that's something we got to work on. And of course, the one that's getting to be almost a joke now is fouls. We go 1 for 2 from the free throw line, and yet you look at the game, and there was a couple opportunities we had to maybe jump at a guy instead of fading away. And we're going to try to do some work on that because we need to get to the free throw line. It's amazing kind of what we've done not getting to the free throw line. We're 100 down from some teams in 13 or 14 games. You start talking 6, 7, 8 makes a game. Now all of a sudden you're averaging something human. So we got to do a better job of that, and we're going to try to in the next couple of days. Questions?
Tom, you bring up the pace offensively, but one thing Chris Voltman said that was interesting is he said
said that his team struggled to have the discipline to defend for 24 seconds against you guys. Have you noticed this year, as you've played a lot of games in the low to mid 60s, that have there been any advantages to it in terms of forcing discipline from other teams defensively, or anything you would, and this isn't the type of team you usually have, anything you'd want to carry on from that sort of approach or not?
You know, maybe it'll help us if you get into the Big Ten tournament, or any tournaments in general. It seems like things do that. Maybe that'll help us, but I don't enjoy it at all. I don't think you do either. I really don't. I am disappointed how we push. I'm disappointed how we're running. I do understand it. You know, you don't just get to snap your fingers and change things at the end of December, and that's about what it was. You know, we couldn't do much of any running with the schedule and with the injuries in December, and that's kind of carried on over. That disappoints me. It's not who we are. Clark Kellogg said that to me. I do think we've worked on it now a little bit in the last week. We had those 4 days instead of 3 days in between games, and I think that helped a little bit. But it's an area that I really want to keep going on. To use what you said the right way, any tournament you're in, I don't care if it's the Portland, if it's the Big Ten, if it's the NCAA, seems like pace slows down a little bit. Maybe at least we'll know how to play at that pace, but I don't like it at all, personally. I don't think we're getting enough shots. I think we're settling too much for shots, you know, and Jaden struggled with that some when he took it to the hole there a couple times, you know. I think the first 5 shots we took were all threes, and they weren't necessarily great threes. They weren't inside-out threes, so we gotta get better at that.
I was gonna ask you about that. 51 threes combined between the two teams, and only 3 free throws between them. I mean, is that just a result of the outside shooting, or was it, like you mentioned, about trying, there were more things inside you couldn't?
You know, we didn't get the ball inside enough. When we did get it in there to Joey even, and Malik, I mean, we're shooting fadeaways in there instead of going right up on them. So I am disappointed in that. We've got to do a better job, and hopefully it's something that we showed them on film this morning. Hopefully we'll do a better job. How many free throws did they shoot? Oh, they shot
2, you guys had 1.
No, I'm sorry. Threes.
29.
They shot 29 and we shot
22.
Yeah, you know, if we're into 20, that's probably good for us, but not 5 in the first 6 possessions. So it's just something we got to get better at, you know, and hopefully we will. And yet, you know, we are making some progress. I think that's the good news. We look, feel, and act like a better team. Now we've got to continue to polish up some areas that we need to get better at.
To what extent, Tom, does this feel like the final stretch, or is it too early? I mean, less than a month left in the regular season, 6 games.
You know, I told this story to Clark Kellogg when Judd was here and Bobby Knight. I used to stand in line waiting to shake Bob Knight's hand because him and Judd were good friends, and you know, I never got to do that. It wasn't one of the things he did with assistants, but I'd listen to him. He'd always say something good to Judd, and he'd always say, as we were getting near the end of the season, he'd say, "Hey Judd, 6. Hey Judd, 3. Hey Judd, 7. One day I asked Judd, what the hell's he talking about? He said, only 5 games, 7 games, 3 games, whatever was left in the season. And me as a GA, you know, I was like so excited to be in Assembly Hall or Breslin Arena or Mackey Arena. You know, I was hoping we had 100 games. And now I look at it, I'd probably say, hey, 6. You know, these seasons have been so long, and I don't think it's because you're getting older. I think these seasons have gotten very long, and the league is so cramped. I mean, how many teams we have tied for something? It seems like most of them. And, you know, and there's just so much more going on with, you know, you're trying to recruit, you're trying to look at things. So, yeah, it's getting like the end stretch now, because that's what happens when you get to February. You know, you start, that's where everything starts to, every game's almost like an NCAA game. And that puts more pressure on players too. But it's also exciting, you know, especially if you're playing a little better and you think you have something left in the tank. I've told you since this summer, I didn't think this team was a great team, and we've proven that. But I think this is a better team than I thought we might be. I don't know, we aren't proving it yet. We've proved it in stretches. Consistency is what I'm looking for now. Our defense has been consistent. Can we get our offense consistent? We have enough guys that can shoot. I mean, Tyson Walker's playing really well. Hauser's playing really well. AJ might have played one of his best games. It's can we get them all together at once? And that'll be the theme for today's practice and tomorrow's.
That is the theme you said for today's practice and tomorrow's?
Yeah, you know, we've got to get our running game going. We've got to improve some offensively and yet keep the consistency, because at the end of the day, defense is still very, very important as we've seen. And turnovers, you know, we were back to 10 or 11. As we learned in the Super Bowl, you know, it's still a critical part of all sports. And we've been a little more up and down on that, a little better the last 2 games.
Consistency thing might apply here, and I know we've talked a lot about Joey this year and where he's gotten to at this point, but it seems like even more so now is that the way he's playing, the comfortable kind of feel he has I think is leading to that consistency. Is he kind of turning into that guy who's, this is the stretch run for me, and now I'm just gonna kind of.
I hope so, you know, I don't put a lot of pressure on him for that, but I do feel, when I know he's comfortable is when he misses a shot and takes the next one. As we know over the years, you know, that wouldn't be the case. So I know our players and our staff is comfortable, our players and our staff are comfortable with Tyson too, so those 2 guys have been very solid. I mean, Jaden's our best 3-point shooter, and we just got to get him that he can drive it, he can do other things. And he's one of our best free throw shooters. How ironic that this is one of my best free throw shooting teams, and we never get there. And you can say, well, get there. You know, I hope you don't think I lay in bed at night and say, let's not get to the free throw line. In fact, I say the opposite. Let's get to the free throw line. Talk to our players about it. It's one of those semi-hard things to work on unless you could just throw it in. And, you know, we just don't have that kind of team right now where we can just throw it into Marty a lot and different guys. But now that Malik's back, we can use him both as a 3-point shooter and as a post-up guy, and I think that would help some.
Malik had that big first game back, where they might have altered some people's expectations of him, but it's just been kind of the road you expected as far as him kind of working back game by game, you know.
I did, and I told you guys that. I mean, I think we, you know, it's frustrating, but I think 2 things hurt Malik, you know, just like I said, Rocket got hurt by COVID, you know, couldn't work out all summer. I mean, when Malik did come back, we were in that stretch where we never practiced. And then, you know, and then he's like, I heard somebody say last night about a couple guys injured on the tube that, you know, their brain tells their body what to do, and their body says, you know, I can't do that. There were a couple times yesterday where I said, man, it seemed like that one day when he had the big dunk, you know, it was like inside out, and he could have dunked it and just didn't go for it. Well, I think part of it is too, when you reheard it, then you're a little more, you know, apprehensive, I guess is the right word. But at the same time, you know, we've had, I think he's had 4 of the 5 practices. He's practiced the whole time now. And now he's played 26 and 24 minutes in games. I do think his conditioning is good. I think his game still got a ways to go, but I think he can get there. And if he gets to where he was early in the year or this summer, we're a much better basketball team. But that's the case with a lot of injuries. I understand that. But I do think this is not a pipeline dream. I think this is a reality as we keep, and guys have to grow with him. You know, like he threw 3 great passes, got 2 guys layups yesterday. But sometimes they don't, when they don't play together, they don't there's not a feel for one another. So it's coming. It's just taking longer than I'd like, and probably most of our fans, but not surprised by it. No.
You said this team is better than you may have expected them to be. What about them may have exceeded your expectations initially?
Well, I think number one, we've become better defensively than I thought, and I thought we'd be a really good offensive team, and we've been a little more skeptical on offense. But I thought with the schedule we had and the way it was, we were buttoning down to, we knew we were going to be in some dogfights. So I guess I'm looking at more win-loss record, which 8-9 losses isn't good for Michigan State, but the circumstances we've been under, I've been semi-pleased with the record, not as much pleased with the play, if that makes any sense. I think we still should be able to execute better. I mean, with Malik and Joey and Jaden and Tyson, we got enough scoring there, and we haven't gotten as much out of Pierre as I thought. Some our fault maybe, because we're not giving him as much of a chance, some his fault. But I still think, he played a little more in the last 2 games. He's been better defensively. He's missed some good shots, but he's making more shots in practice, so I still think that's gonna get better too as we go.
I know he's not playing a whole lot more minutes, but how do you think Jackson Kohler will get more comfortable as the season goes on?
Yeah, I think Jackson Kohler, if you talk to him, is night and day. I mean, I think he is so much more comfortable. He knows how defensive coverage is. Where he still plays a lot of minutes. If he plays a lot of minutes in a row, he struggles with that a little bit, but he can score down there, and it would help us more if we could get him down there a little bit more. And then the rebounding, is we struggled a little bit when we had him in there and rebounding the ball, but that's where I got to get Joey and Malik. And Jaden went from rebounding, then he quit rebounding. Now the other day he started rebounding the ball much better again, and had 9 in that game. I mean, we get Pierre and Jaden and Malik. Malik struggles when he plays on the perimeter. Now he's got to get in there. When he's playing on the inside, he's right there. So these are all adjustments that we got to do a better job of. To be honest with you, we got to coach it harder. We got to do a better job, and hopefully Kohler can be one of the guys that we can at least get it in the post. He can score it. He's got great hands. Just got to get stronger. I mean, he's got to get a lot stronger going against a guy like Key and that. He gets bopped around a little bit, but he's coming. He's making big progress. And if you asked him, I think he'd tell you it's been night and day since 2 months ago. So I'm encouraged by that.
Time for a couple more.
They're all tired. How many of you all go to a Super Bowl party or what? You did?
I hosted one.
You did?
Where was my invite?
Mine too.
Sorry.
Thanks for the invite.
Coach Campy was there. He won a pot, I think.
You invited Camp, you didn't invite me?
I'm sorry, I will
Wow.
next
Sure,
year.
that's the company you want to keep.
Lose a few games, boy, I see where you go in this place. Well, it is gonna be a big week for us because games now are back to 2 days. Today and tomorrow we'll play Wednesday, Thursday, Friday play Saturday, Sunday, Monday play Tuesday, I think we are, right? And so become a little more fast and furious. I do think we're in a better position to handle that. I think we're better physically. I think those couple of days when we had an extra day and took a day off, I think really helped us. So we'll see if we can get that running game going a little bit more and get a little more in the post and get a little more at the free throw line. If we do, I think we'll take another step. Thanks.
Chris is very concerned.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks for the invite.
I'll invite you next year.
What the hell was that?
You played yesterday.
I was home at 5 o'clock.
Okay.